Scott, let's go to the president.
Yes.
Quite quickly.
Yeah.
Mr. President of the CIPMN, you want to give us a background to this matter? Let us in on how it all started. Now that we see we have, say, three factions, in the CIPMN, and many people would be wondering, who do I deal with? Who do I interact with? If I have to register as a member, if I have to, where do I go? Who do I talk to?
Viewers and listeners, once again, it's a pleasure meeting you, and thank you very much to Eagle FM for giving us the opportunity to enlighten the public about the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, CIPMN. First of all, I would like to collect one impression.
Okay.
There are no factions.
Okay.
In the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria is one. Impersonators who are parading themselves to also be the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. If it is a dispute that had no court pronouncements, you can be talking of factions. But where the law is very clear, the court has made several pronouncements. I think it is very wrong and erroneous to now be talking of factions.
Okay.
Only one CIPMN institute and impersonators which the general public should know about them so that they can deal with the authentic Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. Which is the question you are asking, who do you deal with? You should deal with the authentic Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria that is backed by law and several court pronouncements. Anything that is based on an illegality is also illegal. You can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. It doesn't work like that. Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria is a creation of law. And if you are doing anything that is contrary to the clear provision of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria Establishment Act 2020, you are on your own. And definitely sooner or later the law will soon catch up with you. We had judgment by the declared that we are the authentic leadership and ownership of the CIPMN Institute, which the parties are not satisfied. They went to the Court of Appeal to now file a motion for stay of execution of the judgment of the trial court that pronounced us as the authentic leadership. The Court of Appeal also dismissed that application of stay of execution and upheld the judgment of the trial court. So anybody to now come and be parading himself as leader, he's just an impersonator because the court has already spoken.
Now, what is the leadership of CIPMN doing to, maybe prosecute these people who are impersonating? Impersonation is a crime, isn't it? So what are you doing to see that these people are, face the law?
Very good question. Because your house cannot be in fire and you just look the other way around. What we did is that we have filed Form 48 for criminal contempt of court proceedings against these particular impersonators. After several attempts, they were even running away. We now have to file an ex parte motion to now secure an order for substituted service for the Form 48, which was executed by the Court of Law. And this week we are going to serve them with Form 49. The next thing is the criminal proceedings that will take. And actually put them where they belong, because this is in addition to that. We have also filed a petition with the Nigerian Police Force for criminal impersonation, criminal conspiracy to commit this particular criminal act, deceiving innocent Nigerians, collecting money from them that they are not supposed to be collecting because they are not the authentic leadership. Deceive. That my main concern is the innocent Nigerians. That there is somebody who called me from Port Harcourt saying that they want him to go and register with them and make some payment. And unfortunately for him, he was almost lured onto providence. Now actually making have my number. I don't even know how he got my number. When I put him through, he was now properly inducted on the 17th of November 2023. So the police also have sent several invitations to them to appear, but they are also dodging the police. But I know definitely the police will catch up with them, because the normal courtesy processes for invitation has been sent. To now come and explain, amidst all these judgment of the FCT High Court 2, now Court of Appeal, the third one, you are still parading yourself as leadership of the CIPM. So that is a criminal case of impersonation. If you are not satisfied, you go to the Supreme Court. That's what only remains. And when the Supreme Court has spoken, you have no option than to obey.
Absolutely. Now,
so it's not that we are not doing anything. We are actually taking steps within the court system, within the judicial system, to institute a criminal contempt of court proceedings on them. And we have also written a petition to the police, and the police are actually looking after them. And anybody who has useful information of whereabouts, they should please inform the police, because they will arrest them.
Now, who are these people? Who are these people, and what gave them, the impetus to begin to parade themselves as leaders or leadership of, as you claim, of the CIPMN? How did they come about? Because question. People would not just come out from thin air to say we're leaders on, or governing council of the CIPMN.
Very, very good question. Didn't just happen like that. There must be a basis.
Absolutely.
Where the whole thing began. And that basis is what took me to court in the FCT High Court in the first instance. Somebody wanted to be employed as registrar, and he doesn't have the qualification, neither does he have the experience. In line with the clear provision of Section 11, subsection 1, Section 11, subsection 2 of the CIPM Establishment Act 2017, I strongly objected to that. On the strength of my objection, I myself was also sacked from the institute, because I was then the vice president. I was sacked from the institute and also sacked for being a chartered fellow of the institute. What is my offense? I said that the person who is the architect of all these problems wanted to be employed as registrar of the institute. And I say he doesn't have the qualification. The qualifications, Section 11, subsection 1 clearly said that it is only the CIPM Governing Council that shall appoint the registrar, and any other staff of the institute, not the chairman of the council unilaterally. She was the chairman of the council, but she is not the council. Paragraph 3.4 of the first schedule to the Act, created by Section 2.3 of the CIPM Establishment Act 2017, clearly provided that the quorum of the council shall be 10, while the quorum of the committee of the council shall be determined by the governing council. So, any decision taken without a quorum of 10 people in the CIPM Governing Council is not legally binding on the institute. That is the law. So Section 11, subsection 1, that deals with the appointment of the registrar of the CIPM Institute, clearly provided that it is only the council that shall appoint the registrar, and the council in session is only in session if there are a quorum of 10. So the issue of quorum of the governing council is not left open for the governing council to decide. It was decided by the Act itself. It was only a committee of the council that was left open for the governing council to determine the quorum. And it is very obvious, because a committee can be a committee of 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. It is usually an odd number. In case there is a tie, the odd person can actually break the tie and now decide where it swings. So you have to leave that for the Human Act. It's clearly provided under Section 2.2 of the Act. So the number is fixed. That is why the quorum is also determined by the Act itself, because you already know the number of the Constitution, the composition of the CIPM establishment under Section 2.2 of the Act. So Section 11 clearly provides it is only the 11.1. It is only the council that shall appoint the registrar. if this condition provided under paragraph 3(4) of the 4th schedule created by section 2(3) is met, like I earlier told you, then section 11 subsection 2 provided that the person must have relevant qualification to project management. The person also must have 12 years cognate experience. When they say cognate experience, they are talking about 12 years in project management in sequence. The person that wanted to be employed as the registrar did not even have his NYSC certificate as at 2019 when he was appointed as registrar, which was what I strongly objected. Nigeria is a lawful country, not a lawless country, and we shouldn't allow anybody to make it lawless. This thing cannot happen overseas. It was only section 13 of the NYSC Act criminalizes the appointment of anybody either in the public sector or in the private sector to be employed without NYSC certification. This person does not have NYSC certificate as of 2019 when he wanted to be employed as registrar. And he is the architect of this problem, which I strongly objected. On the stand of that, the former president now sacked me for saying I will not support this kind of brazen illegality. When she does that, I now wrote her a letter telling her to withdraw that letter of my dismissal as vice president and also withdrawal of my certificate as a chartered fellow. I gave her 7 days to withdraw the letter and apologize, otherwise I will brief my solicitors. She never thought I would go to court, so she just ignored my letter. And I briefed my solicitors, a senior advocate of Nigeria, file a suit, 1, to restore my certification, 2, to restore my vice presidency, 3, to sack this illegal registrar that was employed, 4, to sack the so-called vice chairman, because section 2(2), like I told you, statutorily provided the composition of the CIPM governing council, and there are no vice chairman there. I won the case 100%. My chartered fellowship certificate was restored, my vice presidency was restored, the so-called registrar that was illegally employed was sacked. The so-called vice chairman that was illegally employed was also sacked with the position, because the position doesn't even exist. So he went with the position, and an order was given until I finish my tenure, nobody should tamper with my position. 1 week to the expiration of this tenure, another judgment was given, because another members of the institute also took the former president to court as well for her continuous violation of the CIPM Establishment Act. You see, the problem is that the former president founded this institute as a private enterprise, Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, limited by guarantee, registered with CAC as a private organization. She now developed a bill and took it to the National Assembly. The National Assembly passed the bill and now make it a public institution, and provided section 10 subsection 1b clearly said from the commencement date of this act, the incorporated institute ceases to exist. It is now no longer a private enterprise, but it is a public enterprise. It is not owned by the government, but it is owned by the general public of over 200 million Nigerians who are practicing project management. Section 1.1, the first law in the CIPM Establishment Act 2017, clearly provided that there shall be the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria, which shall be called the Institute, which shall be a body corporate for project managers. Section 1, subsection 3 of the CIPM Establishment Act further said that the CIPM Institute can sue and be sued in its own corporate name, and can further acquire landed property in line with the Land Use Act, which further consolidated the status of the institute being a body corporate, not an agency of the federal government, not a parastatal, not a commission. Section 1.1 and 3 is very clear. When I took the former president to the court, the first thing she did was that she now filed a preliminary objection that the FCT High Court does not have the jurisdiction to hear the matter because it is a federal government agency. My lawyer, the senior advocate of Nigeria, counter that preliminary objection with the law. This is the law that establishes the institute. It's not a federal government agency. And when the court looked at the fact of the matter, it held that it is not a federal government agency, dismisses that particular motion, and now move into the substantive matter that I presented before the court. Had it been that preliminary objection succeeds, the court will not have even gone into the substantive matter. That would have been the end of the matter. When these members of the institute took the former president to court again the second time, she also went and filed the same preliminary objection that it is a federal government agency. FCT High Court does not have the jurisdiction to hear the matter. And the lawyers of the members of the institute, they are chartered fellows of the institute, also presented a counter to that motion with the same fact, because the law does not change. And the second judge also held that this is not a federal government agency. In fact, the judge even went further to say that the federal government does not have any administrative control over the CIPM Institute. So dismisses the motion and also went into the substantive matter, which removed the former project manager and now asked me to take over. I told you that when I took over, it's only 1 week to the expiration of my judgment, of my tenure that was prescribed in my judgment. So we have to conduct an election. We conduct an election, and I won as the substantive president. Now she went to the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal upheld my election and also the judgment of the lower court. She has gone to the Supreme Court now to file a motion for interlocutory objection, and we have filed a counter promptly and accordingly. So we are now waiting for the Supreme Court to make its own decision. You know, if you fail in the trial court first time, trial court second time, Court of Appeal second time, you now go to the Supreme Court, the fact does not change and the law have not changed.
Now, does that appeal amount to a stay of execution?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. There are lots of Supreme Court decisions to the fact that an appeal, even a motion for stay of execution, cannot operate as an order to stay a judgment. It's just like saying you are doing a motion for bail. It is a motion, you have not moved it. It doesn't operate to say that you have gotten bail from the court. And so when you are, and that is why the Supreme Court was trying to avoid people who will file an appeal and dump it and use it to frustrate beneficiaries of a judgment from a lower court, which the man who is deceiving the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment as we speak, I know the minister is listening, because the Minister of Trade and Investment is being seriously deceived by a young man who was sacked by the court. As we speak. And the reason is because they go ahead to tell the minister, oh, we have filed an appeal. They dumped an appeal at the Court of Appeal. They dumped it. They have refused to serve. They have refused to do anything to it. And the essence of dumping that appeal is for them to use it and frustrate. And the Supreme Court says you cannot use an appeal or even a motion for stay to stop the beneficiaries of a judgment from carrying on, especially when it's even a declaratory judgment. And so as we speak, he has been able to get the sentiments of the Minister of Trade and Investment, the permanent secretaries, the directors. In fact, a lot of them have gone ahead because they don't know these laws. They are not aware of these decisions. And we are using this platform to also appeal to the Minister of Trade and Investment to desist from allowing himself to be deceived by certain quarters of persons, even when they claim that Mr. President, the previous president of the federal government of Nigeria, signed an executive order suspending the activities of an organization that agency of God, the Auditor General and the Accountant General, to open a TSA account created by the National Assembly. Where is that done?
To Section 63 is what deals with the financial modus operandi of the institute.
So why do you create a TSA to collect money from government that is trying to manage its finance?
And if this is so, why?
Very good question.
Why
what is really the interest?
Yeah. So what is stopping
When
you?
the law is very clear, there are several judgments, including Court of Appeal now.
But then what is stopping you from approaching these agencies of government to present yourself and present your case?
In fact, we have approached the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment, and was he a director that came to the hearing at the National Assembly? They are fully aware of this truth. They are fully aware of the provisions of the Constitution alongside the provisions of the Act that created the Chartered Institute of Prayer Managers of Nigeria.
Which we want the police to unravel. If you see the truth, you see the law. There are pronouncements of the court. You are still insisting, bending, blinding your eyes as if you have not seen. Then something must terribly be fishy in that Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment on this matter. And we are asking the police, which we have filed a petition there, to unravel what is really behind. What they are saying is that it's just like this Eagle FM now, you are sitting.
Is it possible? That is not
possible. Is it owned by the federal government? Now, that does not mean that the federal government does not have a hand in the running of the affairs of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. Because Section 22D1, Roman number 1, 2, 3, clearly provided that on the governing council, there shall be a representative of the Federal Ministry of Finance.
That's right.
Federal Ministry of Works and Housing.
That's right.
And Federal Ministry of Education. Section 2.1 of the Civil Establishment Act 2017 further clarifies, that is 2.1 before 2.2, right? 2.1 further clarifies that there shall be the governing council which shall be charged with the responsibility for the administration and general management of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. So the federal government is represented on the governing council by 3 ministries, nominated by 3 ministers. In this Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment are not included. They don't even have a representative of the governing council.
But these other 3 ministries that have representatives on the council, are they fully aware? Are they on your side?
Yeah, my brother. That's what I'm telling you. Something is fishy in Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. Because anything that is being done by this governing council in line with Section 2.1. That says the administration and general management lies with the governing council, right? In this governing council, ministers. So anything that is being done with the active participation of the federal government of Nigeria. Because anything that is being done with this governing council, with this quorum of 10 that I told you. Among these 10 people are these representatives of Education, Works and Housing and Finance.
It's really
Paragraph 2 of the first schedule to the Act also further gives the power to the governing council that it can do anything within the confines of the law that will facilitate the smooth running of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. Everything in this CIP Establishment Act 2017 lies with the governing council, on which 3 ministries were represented fully.
It's really unfortunate that that time is fast spent. I'm particularly
given not by the institute is fake.
That's right.
Any money collected to lure Nigerians to deceive them is fraud.
It's fraud, yeah. And the EFCC is stepping in on this.
And that was why we have written officially to the FCT Police Command, specifically the Commissioner of Police, to fully investigate this matter, so that the erring people will be prosecuted, because nobody is above the law. They are using the name of the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, and I'm also calling on her to dissociate herself, because she is new in the ministry. She was deceived into believing they are legitimate, while they are illegitimate, with 3 pronouncements of the court, including the Court of Appeal.
Well, we'll see how this plays out in the coming days, and we'd love also to hear from them, because what we do is to ensure that we have, all parties fully, lend their voice to the conversation, until they also have a right to reply. If you're listening, joining, and let's have you on the show. But I'd love to say a big thank you to you, Dr. Jamilu Isa Yankwashi, fellow of the Chartered Institute, or president rather. You're past the level of just fellow. You're president of the Chartered Institute of Project Managers of Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much. We are always there to serve Nigerians and give them the right information for them to make